All right, great. So we will provide the recording for this after the webinar is over. It takes usually 24 hours to process. I also did put a handout in the little handout section on the webinar. So if you can't see that, you should just be able to download it. It's a just a little quick tips document. So you should be able to download that. And then I'm happy to share my slides. I'll throw my slides out to you guys with all the with the recording for the webinar as well. So I'm just going to pop a couple of things out and get myself set up here. All right. You guys are ready in here? Everybody good? Okay, great. So I will jump in and out. I do have slides, but I will jump in and out of the program as we go along today. The motto is change is fun, because that's what we have to do. We have to embrace this and just go with it. There are things, I'm going to be completely upfront and honest with you, there are things that are not working in this new version. But that's okay. They will get them figured out before the big launch. So just FYI. This new version of zipForm is a completely new look and feel from what you're used to. So those of you that have been on zipForm for years and years and years, this is going to look way more user-friendly to you. It's got big, beautiful buttons. It's got color. It's got all the things that you're used to seeing in modern programs and sites. The menus are way less complicated, easier to find things. They have a lot of help options built in that they've never had before, which I'll show you, that are pretty neat. And then docu-signing, they've taken a few of the steps out to make that easier. So first things first, those of you that are on the call and those of you that are sitting in front of me today have probably heard me say this a million times, but the idea between using DocuSign and zipForm together is to make things easier for you. Your DocuSign account should not be something that you're doing all your forms in zipForm and then you're printing them out and then you're scanning them up and putting them into DocuSign, or saving them on your computer and putting them into DocuSign. DocuSign connects with zipForm beautifully. It's almost like it's built right in. You never really leave zipForm, and it really is the way to go. But that said, I know there are people even on the webinar out there that are still doing this, I'll say the old way, because it's comfortable and we get busy and a lot of other reasons. But if you connect your DocuSign account to zipForm, I promise you, you will love it. It's so much easier. So I wanted to show you how to connect the two accounts. And I'm going to be right up front with you. This looks different because I took these screenshots in the new version. So I'm happy to share with you my email on how to do this in the old version, and I'll show you how to flip back and forth between the two. But what you're looking at, and on all of my screenshots today, will be the new version, and we'll look at the new version today. I should also mention that either me or Thomas or both of us will probably be teaching this about every 2 weeks between now and the end of the year, just to make sure everybody's comfortable with the new version. So how do we do this? Top right of your screen, you will see the word me, and it used to be a drop down. Now it's kind of a drop up. It's got a little up caret there. So you just click on that, and that will allow you to view your profile, and you have to click on View Profile. Once you do that, you have to go to Settings, which is the same. The steps are kind of the same as they were before, but you can see it looks a little different. So you click on Settings, which instead of being a left side menu is now across the top. So you can see it says About Me, Offices, Forms, Products, Settings. So you're going to click on Settings. There's that radio button again at DocuSign, and you have two options here. You can get a DocuSign subscription, or you can link an existing account. So if you are outside of Suburban West or Bucks County or MCAR, Montgomery County or Greater Philadelphia, you may need to get, basically Jersey and our Allentown people will need to get their own accounts there. So 80% of us are going to click on Link Existing DocuSign Account, and a little window will pop up from DocuSign now, and it's going to ask you to log in. So you're just basically logging in. It's going to ask you for your email first. You hit continue, then it's going to ask you to put your password in, and then a little box is going to come up that says, do you want to link this If yes, click accept. And then you click accept and you're connected. If you have the wrong password in there, it's going to tell you right away, no, this isn't the right password. So there shouldn't be any confusion. If you go to DocuSign and something, if you're going and you're clicking the link to DocuSign and it says invalid credentials or you need to update your credentials, that's because you've changed your DocuSign password and never updated it here. So if that happens, I'm happy to help you with that. I literally have a form email because I probably get the question twice a week. So just let me know and I'm happy to help you connect those two and give you the steps on that. Yes?
If we're connected right now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the question is, if I'm connected in the old version of zipForm, will I be connected automatically in the new version? And the answer to that is maybe. So I've had it work both ways, where sometimes it works and other times it does not. So if it doesn't work, if you get that invalid credentials, just reconnect. I've also had it where we've had to disconnect and reconnect. So you may have to do that as well. But I'm happy to help you with that. Paul's happy to help you with that. Either one of us can jump in. And you can also call the boards with this stuff too. If can't imagine them being easier to get to than us, but if they are, you're certainly welcome to do that. So let's talk about getting in. zipformplus.com is, of course, the link that we all know and love. That has not changed. You're going to log in with your full CBH email and password. We always get a little mucked up because BCAR will set up accounts for our Bucks County agents on zipForm. And what happens then is our new agents will start using this account that doesn't have any CBH stuff in it. And we have quite a few docs in our account. So if you think you have that BCAR account, please just let me know because we will have to merge your BCAR stuff with our accounts. You do have an account already set up with us. One thing they have added, which I'm thrilled about, they did not have this before, is there's now a forgot username and forgot password. Before, when you couldn't get in here, you would have to come to us to reset it, which is okay, but everybody just said, can you tell me what my password is? And I couldn't even see it. So I really couldn't help you. I just had to reset it. Now they'll give you hints and there's all sorts of stuff, and you can put your cell phone in for recovery options as well. So it makes that a lot easier. I'll show you. Yeah, it's in your settings. So those of you that are on the old version, and I realize I have a new agent in the room, I have new agents on the webinar, I realize this screen will look old. I think I said every screenshot was the new version. This is the old version, so I lied on one slide. This is the old version, and you'll see if you can't tell where my arrows are, those big red arrows try to be obvious. It says try New+. And I don't want you to try this when you've got an agreement that you're doing in 2 hours. I don't want that because I don't want to take those phone calls. I will be the one to tell you to go back to the old version. But when you have 5 minutes, it's worth going in it and playing around with the new version. So you just click on try New+, and guess what? You're in the new version. Now, if you're freaking out and you're saying, oh my God, I can't get it, the next time you log in, you're going to be on the new version. So when you do have that agreement, you have to have done in 15 minutes. There is an option. It says go back to the classic zipForm Plus, and you click that, and you will immediately be taken back to the old version. So you can flip that switch as much as you want right now. What zipForm has told, what our rep has told me is that November 15th or thereabouts, that switch will just be flipped to the new version and you will not have the option to go back. So we're going to work on that assumption. They may give us more time, they may not, which is why you will see classes on this pretty much every 2 weeks. I would love to know too if stuff's not working, if, you know, just in building this class, I was finding things that weren't working. Shoot me an email, don't tell me because I'll forget. Shoot me an email with what didn't work and I will talk to our rep. I'll go to them directly and just say, here's what we're finding out. They do want to know all of that. So, so you can turn it off for now. All right, I wanted to just show you some of the things that are at the top right because this is a little bit different. But again, I feel like once you get in here, it is actually more, it will make more sense to you. So the first little thing, if we go left to right, it's a little bullhorn icon. Those are the zipForm bulletins. So right now, things you'll see in there are, help Hurricane Irma victims by doing this or donating here. They also pop up. They're the things that pop up when you first log in. The next one over is a little chat bubble, and this is new. They have chat now built throughout zipForm, and you're going to say, what is chat? If you've ever used Instant Message, AOL Instant Messenger, or GChat, or any of those, or if you've ever texted, that's kind of what this is. It's a back and forth chat that I can have with the other agent, with my clients, whoever it is that I want to chat with on here. I just have to know their email address, and it'll save the entire thing. I can put it with a transaction. I can do whatever it is I want. But the nice thing about the chat is it makes communication even faster. So you can think of it like texting or instant messaging. The little bell is your notifications. So we had those before. That's, Marianne, your documents are back in from being DocuSigned by your seller. Those are the kind of things you'll see there. And then under the little me is where you'll see profile details. That's where you'll set up your email signature. That's where you connect DocuSign. Your login and password are in there. All sorts of good stuff in there. And then there's just a random spot for a photo if you choose to use it. I probably every time I do one of these classes, I get asked about the property photos and our agent photos. Are they on the documents? Are the little property photos on the documents, that we put in with MLS Connect? Is my photo going to be on my documents? And what I will say for you for right now is no, but that could change at any time. I would imagine that is the next step where they are putting our photos. If we're going to put them there, they're going to put them on the documents. So just so you know. Schedule a meeting this used to be hidden, so I'm thrilled that this is up and out front. This schedule a meeting allows you to be online and chat via video. Just think of it like we're doing this webinar. For those of you that are on the webinar and you're in Huntington Valley or you're in Allentown, I'm talking to you online. I'm sharing my screen. You can chat back with me. If I turned my video camera on and asked you, I have to ask you to turn your video cameras on, we could actually be looking at each other. I'm recording this for future use and things like that. And that is exactly what you can do with this schedule a meeting. It's a program called AnyMeeting, and it allows you to video chat back and forth with small groups of people. And all you need to do is put an email address in, and it'll email them and say, Stephanie wants to chat with you. Click this link to chat. All that happens is they say, yes, I want to chat with her, or maybe they say, no way, I don't want to chat with her. They can jump on with me, and if they don't want to share their webcam, they can say, you know what, having a bad hair day, just got up, whatever, but I still want to see what maybe I'm just going through a form that I want to show them. This is the way, it's not even the way of the future, it's really the way of now. So it's a really cool way to go through documents. E-signing happens so quickly now. Docu-signing happens so quickly. They're not reading those forms. They're not coming into the office in many, many cases. So a lot of times you're on the phone with them. You have no idea what they're doing. They're probably wrangling kids, cooking dinner, doing whatever. Why not force them to just jump online with you for 15 minutes to go through that contract? 20 minutes, an hour, however long you take. Record the sucker, yeah. Record it so you have it, and you can say when there's a question down the line, hey, remember we went through this? Let me just remind you, I can shoot you that recording. This, I know it seems scary, but this is an awesome tool for you guys, and it's such a cool thing that nobody's using yet. And I feel like, 5 years ago when I was saying, you're going to love DocuSign, it's going to be the greatest thing ever, and everybody kind of laughed at me. This will be the next thing you guys are all going to use, and you're going to say, how do we live without this? I think. So anyway, that's my rant about schedule a meeting. It's a very cool tool. It is right at the top right. This is the top right menu that we're looking at that I kind of pulled out. So it's right at the top right of your screen in the new version. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, it was in the old version. We've had it for like 9 years, and people just don't use it. So anyway, well, it's kind of buried in the old one. So I wanted to just go through the menu a little bit because when you first log into the new version, your home screen or that first screen that you see is not what you're used to seeing. It used to open to transactions and we'd see all of our transactions. Now it opens to a dashboard. And what the dashboard does is it says, okay, Jen, here are the things that here are the contracts you've written. Here's what, according to all the dates in your contracts, has closed. Here's what you have in the pipeline because you did this consumer notice. It breaks down what you have going on based on the contracts and the transactions that you've set up. So it's pretty neat and kind of a cool thing, but that is where you will open up to now is the dashboard. Transactions, which is where we all want to get to most of the time, will take you back to that normal screen that you're used to. So those will be your current transactions. There is an even longer period of time now that they are keeping your transactions. It used to be 18 months. They would keep a transaction on your main screen in the kind of inbox, if you will, of the transaction tab. And if you didn't touch that for 18 months, they wouldn't get rid of it, but they would archive it and kind of put it in transaction purgatory. So if you need to get it out, you could, but it just wasn't in front of you. Now they're keeping them for even longer. And when you start a transaction, it'll actually say, we will hold on to this until 2026 or some crazy date. So no worries about that. Templates. Templates are awesome, and I encourage the use of them. We have several that we've created for the company. However, you guys, unless you are doing one of two things, will never, ever, ever go there. If you're going to create your own template, you go there that one time to create it. Or if you're going to edit an existing template that you created, you will go there. Those are the only two times that you will go there. The biggest thing that I see and the thing that happens constantly and that we're always fixing is someone will come to me and say, I really want to create a template. I want this to be easy. We create a buyer template and a seller template. And then the next day, and it works great. First deal, they go, they use their template. They're like, this is the best thing ever. I can't believe we did this. Great. Then they go to write their second deal. Why is everything from the last one in my template? It's because you went to templates and you didn't go to transactions. The only time you ever go to templates is to create or edit a template. Once you've done that, you just apply the template to your transactions. When you go back to templates, all you're doing is you're re-editing that template over and over again. So once you touch a template, just, as long as it's up to date and you're good to go with it, you never need to go back to templates again, okay? So I fix those all the time. If you do it, it's not a huge deal. I'm happy to help you with it. But just know, you never go back there and after you're done creating and editing. Tasks. So tasks are kind of new. Transaction management is kind of a newer thing to zipForm. We've had it for, I don't know, maybe a year or so. But we knew they were coming out with this new version, so nobody really dove into it too much. But tasks here will be anything that you added a due date to, and I'll show you about adding due dates on a form. Or down the line, I told you our LOCs are in here, our conveyancers, our managers, they could actually put a due date in here. Maybe one of the conveyancers is saying, I gotta have this. Can you get it to me by the end of the week? She can put a due date on there for you. So it says, hey, agent, every time you log in, this is due at the end of the week. So it's kind of like a to-do list is what you'll see under tasks, and it's based on a calendar format. Contacts are contacts. It's anybody you load in. I would not today go in and load all of my contacts into zipForm. I cannot tell you what they do with them. I do think it's perfectly fine to put your contacts in when you're doing contracts with them, but I wouldn't worry about dumping your entire address book in there. It is not worth your time to do that. And then partners, you guys won't have admin, but partners are any of those partner services that zipForm offers, and they are out wheeling and dealing every day. So, things like Squawk, the thing that we have with Chris, the Earnest Money Deposits. There's a service called Updater in there. CoreFact is in there. So it's basically anybody that zipForm made an agreement with that they're trying to push for reciprocal kind of business. So, all right, so let's talk about starting a transaction file. I have to be on that transactions menu. So again, it's going to load me up on the dashboard when I first go in. So you're going to have to just click on transactions, and then same as we did before, just click new. This will look different though. So we used to just get the pop-up to put the info in. Now we get this little guy, and it says new transactions, select the type. So we have new listing, new purchase offer, new lease, or new lease listing. And then there's this quick sign. So right away I'm going to tell you 80% of you will never use the quick sign. It's all based on zipForm's digital ink program, which they give us a few freebie credits for, but then you have to actually start paying. So anybody that's on DocuSign will not use QuickSign. Now, digital ink, if you say, well, I'm just going to use it because I don't get DocuSign for free, that's fine. But you do have to pay for digital ink. Digital ink is per transaction, where DocuSign is monthly. So I will say it can be an attractive option for some people, you know, just on how they bill it. So you're going to click whatever your transaction type is there. And I just said all of that, so ignore the quick sign for most of you. And then all you're going to do, kind of went back to that, then you'll get your window, and all you're going to do is what we did before. You're going to get that window where it says, okay, type in a name or an address. Now, if you're just starting to work with a buyer and they haven't put an offer in, you don't have an address yet, so you just got to put their name in. So whatever you want to do there, but you want to identify it up here. Choose the property type here. You can write comments. Your name should be here. If you don't pop up as the agent on your account, just give me a call and we'll we have to talk about that and figure that out. And then down here is select template. So we have global templates, we have office level templates, and then you may have your own agent template that you've created. At the company level, at the global level, we have CVH sellers, CVH buyers, CVH landlord, CVH tenant. So we've tried to make it real simple. We have those four. On the office level, out in the valley and in some of the other offices, we have office level templates just based on the forms that we have to use for those offices. So you might see Hellertown buyers, Hellertown sellers. Only people in those offices will see those templates. And then if I, as an agent, have created my own buyer template, I would see those as well. But everybody will see those global templates, and you know, you're free to use those. Up here at the top right, you see it says MLS Connect. If you're, you know, jumping in here, writing an offer, and you haven't been in here yet to do anything with your buyer, you can just put the MLS number in, and MLS Connect will work its magic. I'll show you actually how to do that step by step. But it is as nice as it sounds, but it does not bring over every piece of information. So just FYI. Once you're done at the bottom, you're just going to click Save. So I wanted to just kind of walk you through this, and I see I have a question. I'm going to walk through this, and then we'll get to the question here. Let's see if my little video plays. All right, we have to play it this way. Okay, maybe not. Try it one more time. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of walk you through how this would happen because we got a little disjointed. So basically, oh, I think I'm going to walk you through how that would happen. There we go. Let's see here. All right, so my video doesn't want to play, but basically I can show you that live. We'll kind of run through how to start a file. There's one little step that's different in the new version. So let me just pop out and I'll show you that quickly. So here we are in the new version. When I log in, I'm going to be on dashboard, right? So I just have to click transactions, and then I'm going to go to new. I'm going to select what it is I'm doing, and then I'm going to get this window. So that's the main difference. You have one kind of extra little pop-up there. But once you do that, you'll open right into your file. And this looks a lot different, so we will talk about that. All right, I see I have a question. Bud Sperber, I don't know if you have a mic on, but I'll try and open up your mic so you can ask your question. All right, Bud, if you have a mic, you're live.
All right, Steph, I was just curious if the existing templates we have set up currently will automatically be there when the change occurs.
Great question. I'm going to mute you again, Bud. Yes, the existing templates that you have now will all come over to the new version. Absolutely. Yep. All right. Make sure I don't have any other questions. Thanks, Bud. That was a good question. All right. So let's pop back to slides. I'm going to kind of go in and out here. Once you get in here, it looks really different, right? It looks a little overwhelming. So we'll run through a few things on the slides, and then I'll jump out live again. First time I saw this, I wanted to cry a little bit. It's a lot different. However, it's actually way better. The more time you spend in here, you'll get used to it. I know it looks a lot different, but I promise you'll like it better. So I wanted to break this down for you the simplest way that I could and go through every little piece of it. Just to make it as easy as we can. So, whoops. So, when you first, and let me go back one step here. When we are on this screen, as soon as I hit save and set up my transaction, it plops me right here to this screen. So I just pulled out this top menu, the gray bar, just to kind of go through that with you. So I'm going to start there. So the first thing you'll see are the file details. You'll see the person's name. The TID is the transaction ID. This is going to become important later. You will be able to email anything you want into this file. You'll be able to fax anything you want into this file, and it's all based on that transaction ID number. You can see it says this will be retained until September 14th of 2026, because I don't even know why they chose that long, but that's what it is. The transaction summary is what is in front of you, and I know you're only looking at a menu here, but it's what's on that whole screen. So when you're first setting this up, there's going to be nothing there, right? Because you haven't put anything in there yet. But as you get more into the transaction, you'll start to see the information kind of build. Parties in the transaction. This is something we talked about a lot with the old version. Take the time and put first name, last name, and email in. If you're using this program with DocuSign, trust me when I say put the parties in early. I have watched agents, they're freaking out in the back because they're like, oh my gosh, this is the 5th time I've had to DocuSign this. And every time they're putting the email in, and I'm saying, why are you doing that? You could do it one time. And then they're typing the email wrong. And just do it once in the beginning when you have the 5 minutes to do it, and you will thank me later, I promise. And I know some of you are on the webinar listening that have done this, so I'm calling you out. Documents. Documents is the old Documents tab that we used to have. It just looks a little different. Checklist is part of the new transaction management piece of this. And checklist right now is going to be, it'll basically be anything, it's like that calendar view I was talking about. It'll basically be anything you put a due date on. Now, going forward, I would, as a company, like to do a lot more with this. So we're working on ideas for how we can tackle this. So you guys aren't printing out as much. We're not printing out as much. We can really do paperless by 2020. But it'll also be a lot easier for everybody. So checklist will show you all that back-end stuff. There's a big notes section in this new version. So you can write notes to your heart's content, and they will always be attached to your file. This little guy, it almost looks like a reset or a refresh to me, but it's actually a clock. It's the history. So it's a clock that's going backwards. If you can see the little arrow, it's trying to show you these are all the things that have happened. When you get it, it makes sense if you really look at it. Took me a while, though. And then services, same thing. Those are all those extra programs that zipForm is trying to sell us. Now, the submit for review, I have a couple people that are saying, oh my gosh, what is this about? What do I have to do here? Right now, nothing. But let's just say we do go all in with this, and you're done. Everything's executed. You got to turn your file in. You're not handing a file in anymore. You're hitting submit for review, and your LOC and your manager and maybe your conveyancer even all get an email, the title person, all get an email, hey, this agent is saying this is executed, they're ready to order title, they're ready to do all this stuff. Bob's got to approve some stuff. The LOC is going to do their thing. It'll be a beautiful thing when we when we do it. So super excited for that. But right now, you can just ignore it. So yeah, so that's that menu. So nothing to freak out. Now I'm going to go back again because I want to just show you. Now we're back on this main screen again, and on the left-hand side where you can see my name and my email, I'll show you that menu. And that one's an easy one. That's just parties. So you'll have your information at the top, purchase residential, which is what I selected when I set up the account, the TID, the transaction ID, and then last time I modified it, so 32 minutes ago. And then you're going to see buyer, seller, listing agent, and view parties. All 4 of those buttons goes to the same place. Okay, it all just goes to the party tab and add parties. So don't get freaked out. When I first saw this, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many buttons. Literally, they all go to the same place. So where is the party, right? You got to add your parties. How do you do that? You click buyer, seller, whatever it is you're putting in. And initially, just put their role in. This is buyer 1. Here's their first name, their last name, and their email address. Who cares about any of that other stuff right now? You're not calling them here through zipForm, so you don't need their phone numbers in there. You know, addresses would be good for forms, of course. But again, you don't care about that day 1 that you're talking to somebody. But getting the email in is really more critical than ever, and you will, I promise you'll thank me for it later. When you do this, same issue as we had with the last program. The window is too big for most browsers. So what that means is you have to learn on your browser or on your mouse pad how to decrease the size of your screen and what you're looking at so you can see the save button. The save button is only at the bottom for some silly reason, and you can't scroll on it. So you've got to figure out how to decrease the size of your screen. You can increase it right back up after you hit save, but for whatever reason, that's what it does. Just like before, you can also put now photos in of your contacts as well. So if you want to see them. So directly across from the party menu on the other side, so party menu's on the left, this menu is on the right side. And again, it's just a bunch of big buttons. You can apply a template. So maybe when you were setting everything up, you forgot you had this super awesome template that you created just for this purpose. So you can apply that now if you choose to do so. This next guy over, if we just move right to left, I'm sorry, left to right, is email documents. TXN is what zipForm calls transaction. That's their little abbreviation for that. Maybe it's an official shorthand abbreviation, I don't know, but email docs to transaction is what that's saying, and I'll show you what that looks like. The next one down, fax docs to your transaction, or scan, just go stand at the copier, you know, get it in there. Add document is pretty cool now. It's not just adding documents on your computer, which is pretty awesome. Share documents, no more collaboration. They've gotten rid of that clunky collaboration that sometimes worked, sometimes didn't work. Now we're just sharing documents. And you can share documents with a link that's like a public share, but it's a crazy link that only people on the link would be able to open, or you can do a private share with somebody. So very cool to be able to do that. And then of course, you can sign. So let's take a closer look at some of these. Applying a template is the same as you would when you're first signing up or when you're first setting your program up, your transaction. So you've got all the different, unfortunately I see every template anyone ever created. So that's why you see this big long list. But a template name is here, and then under scope I can see, okay, this one's global, so that's mine. This one, buyer UA template, MR, no idea who that is, but it's an agent template. So buyers Hellertown, that's one of mine too. That's an office template. Again, you're only going to see what pertains to you, so you guys should see the 4 global and anything you've set up, and then if you have an office level template. If you want to apply it, you just click off the little button and apply at the bottom. Emailing into the file is as awesome as it sounds. So every single transaction now gets its own email. So you're going back and forth, you're wrapping up negotiations by email. All you have to do is copy this email throw it into your, the little toolbox on your email screen and forward that important email that you want to keep forever and ever in your transaction, or at least until September 14th, 2026. So pretty cool that you can do that. If it's easier and you don't like to copy and paste, you could actually compose an email right here and just send it to yourself so you have it. But every transaction gets its own email, and this 334738886 is the transaction ID. So pretty cool. You can save it as a contact too, so it makes it even easier. Now it's saving it as a contact in zipForm. It's not saving as a contact anywhere else. But the cool thing about that is it'll let you just sort of one click rather than copying and pasting. But for the most part, I think the way that you guys would use this would be the reverse, which would be saying, all right, I'm going to copy this email, and because the listing agent and I just went back and forth 10 times and I want that whole thread, I'm going to forward it. So I'm going to put this email in the toolbox, right? And it's going to come right in as like a new document into my transaction. Pretty cool, right? Faxing, you can also fax or scan or whatever it is. If you've got paper, you're holding on to paper, you can go in and print out this little sheet, and as long as you have this in the front of whatever you are scanning and it tells you where to send it right here, here's the number, it's going to go right into your file. Awesome. So that's pretty exciting. Adding more documents. We used to only be able to add what was actually on our computer, right? Now you can add anything on your computer. You can create a placeholder, and I'm going to show you how cool that is. You can add a form somewhere else, basically. Dropbox, Google Drive, Box.net or Box.com, and OneDrive, which is a Microsoft thing. Tons and tons of options here, and different. If you keep everything in Google Drive, you can click there and add documents. Super easy. Adding a form, by the way, is forms that are already existing. So like a CBH form, or that would be to take you like back to the libraries that we already have. If that makes sense. Sharing. So sharing documents, again, collaboration, the old clunky way of collaborating has gone away. This is the new way they're doing it. So there's a public share, and I know people freak out when they see anything public as relates to forms because we don't want those things public. What I will tell you is they give you this big long link, and we actually use it all the time with new agents. I'll put a form online and I'll share it with a public link, but only the people I give that link to have access to it. And what you can do with a public share here is you can say, this link goes away or expires, what I'm sharing on here, after 3 days or however long the person needs to see that. A private share would actually grant permission for a specific user to come in. That's kind of where the collaboration part comes in. They have to have like their own little zipForm Lite account that they would set up through here. They don't pay anything or do anything, but they have to set up a username and password. Okay. And then signing documents. That whole process has been simplified now. It's way easier. You're going to name your packet. We know sometimes we'll have 12 completed folders for DocuSign documents, and that's okay. So just, here's my packet. This one has the consumer notice and the buyer's agency contract, and that's all it has. It's labeled. One of the neat things you can do now is you can choose a return folder. So if I say, I just want this to go in the main folder, I don't want it to be its own little folder, or maybe you like to have, separate folders for anything that's come in DocuSign, you don't want them in that main folder, you can actually choose a return folder and you can create it on the fly. So you don't have to, you can click this and add the folder right then and there. For the documents that I want to sign, I don't have to have them selected before I come here. I just click this little guy and it lets me select whatever forms that are in my transaction that I want. It will also let me add an external document there, and I'll go into signing a little bit more in a few minutes. So, okay. Sorry, Bill. I thought you had a question, so I let it I let it go for till I was done that section. I hope that you can still hear me out there in Lahaska. All right. Any questions in the room? Guys, okay? All right. So I wanted to go through a few things on working with documents, and then I'm happy to jump out live and show you guys anything that you want. Inside of a transaction file, when you click on that documents icon, and it's this guy that I put in red here, that's going to look like your old documents screen. That's probably the most familiar screen to all of us because you're in and out of that one the most. Now it looks a lot different, I know, but a lot of the stuff is still there. It's just in a different little section. So click on this little guy and you will see all of your documents in here. And then you've got your e-sign, you've got your share, MLS Connect. You can add documents here. You can add folders. You can move things around, apply a template, email, save as PDF, copy, print, or delete here. You can also organize these. So if maybe you applied a template and you say, well, that's dumb. Why would Steph order it that way when I always do this before I do this? You can organize it any way you want, any way that makes sense to you, and move those documents around. Again, all your identifying info will be here. If you go and click on all forms, that's where your libraries are now. So over here on the right, this all forms is going to show you if you've got to add another form in for whatever it happens to be, a lead-based paint or something that wasn't standard in there, you can very easily do that. I will say, once you are in a document, something that I've talked to them about that I really don't like is we can't see email, save, and print. So it's great that like fast fill and NA fill and stuff like that are up here, spelling, but I don't use them as much as I use save, email, and print. So I would prefer that they kind of flip those, but that's just a personal thing, but I did talk to them about that. So this menu, when I'm in a document, is going to change a little bit. I can go full screen. If you're blind like me, I can click e-sign, I can do my MLS connector, write notes. But then I've got those old ones that you've seen before, that fast fill, where it just takes out all the form junk and shows you exactly what's required for that particular box. NA fill is going to fill anything you haven't filled out with a little NA. Preview is just going to show you what it would look like outside of zipForm, so what it would look like to a normal person that's not logged in here. Spelling, obviously, you guys know what spell check is. IntelliCopy is something new, and I was kind of excited when I first heard about it. Now I'm sort of not really sure. IntelliCopy it's basically made so, you know, before when we put something in and we hit save, it would always go to the other forms, or most of the time. It doesn't always do that now. So this IntelliCopy, like if I go, I'm in the consumer notice now, but if I go, my next form I open is the buyer agency contract, my name might not be in there as the agent, but when it was already here. So all I have to do is hit this IntelliCopy and it will copy over, but it can be a little annoying because it's sort of an extra step. Now, I'm happy that I just have to hit one button and not retype everything, but I'm hoping that this feature gets a little bit better. Highlight was there before, strikeout was there before. Remember, you can only strike out text, printed text. I think Dawn would prefer that you didn't strike out anything, but you know, you can deal with her on that. There is an undo and a redo, and then more. You've got to make sure you're clicking on more because that is where your save lives. This program does not save things automatically. So just because you don't see save right in front of you doesn't mean it's okay just to close. So click on more and go down and hit save, okay? Or print or email, or I feel like these last 4 buttons are the ones that we use the most, but yes, question.
What about copying PDF? I don't see that.
You can copy an entire, so the question is what about copying something? You can, I'm in a form right now, like I'm in the consumer notice. You can copy an entire transaction, but I don't know that I could add another consumer notice, but I don't know that I could copy it directly.
The zipForms now, like if I have a consumer notice that deal didn't happen, but I need to transfer into an active deal,
Okay.
you can copy it into that new transaction.
So you can do that still. The question is, can I copy a form from an old transaction into a new one? You had it labeled for the address, didn't happen, I guess, and you're going to a new address. The answer to that is yes. It's just not done here. It's done back on the main transaction screen. So, but yes, you can still do that. Adding forms, little little trickier, but I think you'll like it once you get used to it. So when you are on your main transaction screen, you will see, and I'm going to go back, when I'm on a form, there's a little My Forms at the top left here. My Forms, when you expand it, is going to look like this menu on the left, and it's only going to show me what is in my current transaction file. Okay, so I might have 2 forms in there. I might have a whole plethora, whatever. The menu on the right-hand side is going to be, and you can't see it here because I cropped it out, but that would be over here where it says All Forms. So if you needed to add a form, that would be at the top right. When you're in your forms or your transaction, you'll be able to see that. And that's all the PAR forms, the NJAR forms, if you're on that, R forms, that sort of thing. And all you have to do to access either of those is to click on either My Forms or All Forms, and they'll open. And then it's just one click to add it to your transaction. Okay. You can also add documents that are outside of your computer now. It used to be, you know, people would say, how do I get this on? And we'd have to say, well, just save it to your computer and then you can do whatever. Now it can almost be anywhere. So you can click Add Document and you can browse for it on your computer like we used to. You can create a placeholder. You can add a form that, you know, PAR form or a Jersey form or whatever. But you can also go to Dropbox or Google Drive or Box.com or OneDrive and access anything you've got saved online there, which is pretty cool. So a placeholder, what the heck is a placeholder? A placeholder is where I go, and I'm going to show you a few examples, but that actually will allow me in my transaction to say, okay, I need to get a gift letter from their parents, and I've got to have this by this date. So I can create a placeholder in my transaction file that says gift letter from parents, put a due date on it, and now it's on my task list, and it's coming up in front of me, and it's reminding me, and it's right there. So you could do that with anything that's due in the agreement, really, you could do that with. So pretty neat. Your new friend, telecopy. Again, you know, the jury's still out on that. I hope that they make it a little better, but probably the #1 thing we get asked about is, why can't my stuff just always be there? And I don't know why they struggle with that, but they seem to have an issue. They're trying with this and telecopy to help you with that. But so let's talk about DocuSigning a little bit. So just a word about DocuSigning. Suburban West, Bucks County, Montgomery County, and Greater Philadelphia do get this for free. So you will have that on your own. Those of you that aren't members of those associations, to be honest, I have some people in Hellertown that will make Bucks their primary association and make Alvar their second. But unfortunately, Lehigh Valley Association and New Jersey, they do not give you DocuSign for free. So, and DocuSign's not cheap. Even at the discounted rate, it's like $175 a month, I think. So if you aren't going to go that route, I would try the digital ink version, because that's per transaction, just to kind of get your feet wet that way. So when I'm e-signing, I can start it in a form or I can start it in a transaction. So what you're looking at here is I'm in my entire transaction file. As you can see, I have multiple forms there and not just seeing one form. And it's front and center. It's always going to be at the top left position there for you. And you just click e-sign. And then it's going to, same as before, it's going to say create a new signature packet. And then on the next screen, this is where, and I showed you this a little bit before, but this is where if you wanted to name the packet signing service, the only choices you have here are DocuSign and digital ink. You can, again, choose that return folder, and then you add your documents here. Okay, you're going to click next. We'll add your documents first, then click next. So add your documents, just click them off. Adding external document here will give me that same menu where it says add from Google Drive or add from Box or add from your computer, whatever you need to do there. Just like I'm showing you here. And then the adding signers. So this is a little blue dot that'll be on the left with a plus. It's got a little silhouetted head in there. You click that to add your signers. And it's going to say who needs to sign. And just like the document box, this box is way bigger than before too, right? So now, who do I want to add? Well, my transaction parties might be a good start, right? A service provider. Maybe I need to add a title provider here. Maybe I have ZipLogic's contacts. You probably wouldn't have those, but that I want to put in there. Top producer, if you've got everybody in top producer. Google, MS Live, 365, which is Microsoft. Both of these are Microsoft. Yahoo, or I can create a new person. If I didn't add a party yet, I can create them right here on the fly. What I will say is if you do go into your Google contacts and you add them that way, there's an option at the top left to save as a contact, and that will save that person in your parties. So it's worth doing that and taking that one little click to save it. You're going to click next, and then you're off into e-sign land, and you're off DocuSigning and getting this done. So those are the main differences with e-signing. Not huge, but I think it's a little bit easier. Your transaction parties, by the way, you can reorder these guys again. You know, you're just selecting them. One thing to note, DocuSign users, your DocuSign account, because it's not from us, it may not be your CBH email. That may not be the login. I had a DocuSign account for years under a personal email address. When we got them for free, they offered anybody who already had one to just merge them. So mine is my personal email address. The problem with that is if I don't have that in zipForm, it's actually, and on my forms, not just in the DocuSign setup part where it's my username and password, but if I don't use that email on my forms, it'll still work, but DocuSign's going to ask me every time who I am. So I can't use that little realtor card that I've already set up with my photo and my signature and all that cute stuff. I have to tell them who I am every time. The other time this will happen is, so I use all three names. If I created some forms and didn't have my middle name in there or used an initial instead of the full thing, DocuSign again. Remember, this is a signing platform. They have to check names. That's like the only thing they can check, names and emails. So they're going to say, okay, we'll let you in because you have the right login and password, and we'll let you do this, but you're going to have to create another signature card. So you may log into DocuSign in 6 months and see you have 8 signature cards for all the different ways that you put your name. I think I have like 4. Now you could set up a signature card for each one of those, but you can't have the little realtor thing on there. You can only have that on one of them. You can only verify your NERDS number on one, and hopefully you guys all realize that that's because we should only be using one name. Whatever's on your license is what you should be signing with. So yeah, so that's that. So those are transaction parties. Okay, a couple things here. E-signing is not working also great in the new version. So if you get to this point and things aren't working, I'm just going to tell you to go back for now. Go back to Classic and just give me a call and let me know it didn't work. One of the things that's happening to me is even though my credentials are in there, it keeps telling me they're not in there. And it has worked in the past for me, so we're not really sure what's going on, but deep breath. They are still making adjustments. They're working out the kinks. We have time to learn all of this and fix all of this. You know, and we'll do a lot more classes too, so you guys are in the know and aware. I don't know if this video will play since my last one didn't, but what we'll do is I'll run through MLS Connect for you live so you guys can see that. I'm going to steal this MLS number here. All right, so to do MLS Connect, I can be one of several places. I can be right here on my main menu, right? You can see all this stuff. This will fill in as we add more things. I can be on almost any of these. Like Documents, I think, has it. Yeah, most of these little things will actually have it as the secondary menu. But you're not going to see it on that main screen, so that can be a little bit frustrating. All you have to do, though, MLS Connect comes up. We can only use this with Trend. And don't let your MLSs, those of you that are on other MLSs, tell you that it's us not allowing it. We are happy to pay the fee to do it if they will allow it. So Trend is the only one that currently allows us to do this. And then all you got to do is put the MLS ID in for the property. You can include the property photo or not. Click Find. And once you see the property photo here and some of the basic info right here, you're just going to hit Save. And it's going to say to you, I'd already had that one in, but a little message will pop up, and if you've already started your transaction, it's going to say, hey, do you want to replace any info in here? If you're at the very beginning, you can pretty much just say yes, you can replace any info because you probably haven't put all that much in. If you say no, it's only going to replace blank fields. Now, please understand that it does not fill your entire agreement of sale. The reason, the glorious, glorious reason that we use this MLS Connect is for this. Puts all this stuff in, just so nice, all the other agents' info. It does put more stuff in than that. I'm exaggerating, but that's really the nice part is it puts all that in for you. So, but that's MLS Connect, fairly simple. Let me see. Oh, placeholders I wanted to show you too. So the placeholders are really neat. I mentioned gift letter or pre-qual or whatever it is. You can go in and add a placeholder and put a due date in there. So all I need to do is go up here to add document, create placeholder, and let's say I need a signed seller's disclosure, okay? And I'm going to say okay. And then what it does is it actually will put it kind of at the end of my list down here so you can see it's signed SD. So I'm going to hit this organize button, and I'm going to say that I want this up here. So I'm just going to move it, drag and drop, and I'm going to move it right there. And I say done organizing, and then it just saves that order that I've done, okay? So now I can go in and I can set a due date, and I can say I want, whoops, too quick. I can set a due date and say, here's when I want the signed seller's disclosure. There are two ways to do a date. I can do a fixed date, which would be just me saying I want it back from you by the 22nd or by the 20th or whatever. Maybe we're meeting the night of the 20th to do the agreement. I want it back the day before, whatever I decide. Or I can say it's relative. What that means is if we are, sitting down to do an offer, we're going to do a contract in 2 days. I can say I want it 1 day before. And then the date, whatever date I go in and put on that contract, it's going to tell me it's relative, right? So it's going to tell me we need this 1 day before. What I will say to you is if you don't understand the relative, don't use them. Because if you're not putting dates in on your contracts, or if you do your contracts last minute, like you don't put stuff in ahead of time to prepare, the relative is not going to be your friend. So just do fixed dates, pick a date, whatever date you want, save it, and then it shows up here. And then if I go to my little check off guy here, my little checklist, and my calendar, I'm going to see, all right, I've got some forms that are due. I've got some homework here that I've got to work on. So that's kind of a cool little feature that's new that I really like. Due dates I just showed you. Sharing. So one of the other things, and I'll kind of end on that and then ask you if you have any questions. One of the things that we are working on right now with IQ Office is how we can combine these two tools. I don't think it's worth our time or IQ Office's time, Realistic's time to recreate everything that zipForm has for you, because we're so ingrained in zipForm and we have DocuSign for free. It really doesn't make sense. IQ Office has signing tools, and I can put your documents in there, but we're so ingrained in this, and there's so many cool features that we would have to wait for IQ Office to build that these guys already have, that I'm not ready to say let's do that. So what we've talked to them about is, okay, Steph's got this executed transaction, or she opened a transaction in zipForm. I just want IQ Office to know about it. And I want them then to say, Steph opened this transaction, and here it is. And then any signed documents I would want to go over. And maybe you'd have to press a button. I prefer to be automatic, but there are lots of things that we're trying to hash out with them now on how we can really make this work with the least amount of effort on your part. I don't think we'll ever get away from using zipForm. I don't know that I want to get away from using zipForm. But I'd like for that information to at least be copied over into Realistic, into our new back office. So, more on that soon. Like I said, this just came out for us too, so we are still learning it and trying to figure out what we're doing. But we have a lot of ideas and things that we're trying to do. A couple of little tips. Save early and often. If you don't see a save button, it doesn't mean it's not there. You may have to just make your screen smaller. Do not use your internet browser back button. They say that you can in this version. I'm still having issues with it. You hit your back button and it signs you out entirely. So use their back button, but don't use your browser's back button. Always click on more. That's where you're going to find save, print, email, all of those. And then enter your client's email addresses early in the process under the Parties tab. Very important. So why don't I take questions in the room first, and then I'll stay on the webinar to answer questions there. Do you guys have anything question-wise? Okay. Jen? Oh, yeah.
So if we're in the new plus,
Mm-hmm.
and right now we're in that transition period, and people finding that e-sign is working.
Yeah.
So we click that.
Yep.
Everything that we've done in plus is converting back.
Yes. So the question is, if I'm working in the new version and I create this transaction and then I get to e-sign and I get stuck, can I go to the old version and everything is still there? Yes. And I'll show you. So I created this guy. I'll go back to I created this guy just for this class. Now, if I go and I click, and I created it in new, I didn't create it in the old version. Now, if I click on classic, he's still right here. And I can still see everything that it should all be the same. Some of the new features may or may not be there. Some of this was already in there. It's just nicer to use. But you can still see our placeholders are in there. We can go back and forth. I'm not going to say every piece of info will be there because I guess I can't verify that, but it should be. It absolutely should be. So, yeah. Any other questions in the room? All right, so let me take questions on the webinar. Let me see. Okay, so Roberta, let's see. Can you change the due dates? Yes, you can change the due dates. And let me go back into the version, and then let me just answer this one as well. I heard you say that New Jersey forms will be in here. So New Jersey forms are in here for New Jersey licensees. Now, the way that works is every year New Jersey comes through and says this person, this person, this person, this person, they are not members of our local board and our local MLS. Trend users aren't used to that. Our boards and our MLSs aren't connected, but they are everywhere else in the world. So New Jersey says, we don't want that. So they kick us all off, and then I call zipForm and I cry, and they say, okay, you can have 60 more licenses. We put everybody back on. We say, call us if you need them. We'll get them out to you. So yes, every year we have a slight issue with this, but we're actually looking at maybe putting all of our New Jersey forms into IQ Office even. If you need access to New Jersey forms, though, I have them. I can give them to you. But you have to be a New Jersey licensee in order for me to say yes on zipForm. I'm not just going to give them to you because you want them. So, okay. So let me go and show about how to change those due dates. And let's go back to the new version. So the question was, how do I change a due date on a transaction? So I go right into my transactions here. And I'm going to go back to this guy. And I'm going to go into my documents. My connection is going to be kind of slow because I'm doing the webinar. So bear with me for a sec. And if anybody else has questions on the webinar, feel free to type them in the chat, and I will answer them. All right, documents. Okay, so all I need to do, so let's see, I have a set date here. I just click on the date basically again. So I just click right here, and I can pick a new date. Save it, and it's changed. So that's it. So since I don't have any more questions on the webinar, I will stop the recording. I'll hang out for another 5 minutes or so. If you have any questions, feel